Welcome to the Championship Club podcast. I'm your host Michael Casey, and co-hosting with me is a man with over 300 Championship Rugby appearances. It's Ben Gulliver. Be sure to check us out on social media at Champ Clubs Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and head to YouTube to like and subscribe to the channel. Before we kick off today's episode, I'd like to say a big thank you to our brand new and shiny sponsor, Trojan Engineering Fabrication, part of the MFH Group, and you can check them out at mfhire.co.uk. Welcome to the Championship Clubs podcast. I'm Michael Casey, and I am joined today by Ben Gulliver. Gully, it was another round of fixtures at the weekend. I know that you put your neck on the line in last week's show and went to predict all the games, which is never a wise move because how many did you get right? 1, 2?
I think I got 2 right, mate. I had a bit of a shocker, but that's a bit. I suppose that's credit to the league, isn't it? So not being able to call games, but. No, it seems a bit strange, doesn't it? We're recording this on a Monday. Normally we're on a Wednesday. There's still a game to go tonight, which we're looking forward to watch. But if we rewind to Friday when Bedford played Ealing at Goldington Road, and Bedford played pretty well, didn't they, for large portions of that game? And we're a little bit unlucky not to come away with at least a bonus point loss. But it's a shame for Bedford. But I think we've said that they've, with their loan players from Saints and the relationship there with the coaches, with Jake Sharp and with Alex Ray, obviously good connections with all the coaches at Saints, and with Mike's experience, it seems that Bedford that model looks like it's going to be there for a while, and it looks like it's going to be prosperous for all involved, including players, coaches, and also the guys and supporters coming back into the ground moving forward and into next season. So it's great for Bedford. Ealing, fair play, mate. They just keep trucking on, don't they? So good on Ealing, roll on the playoffs there, thinking, I reckon. So if we move on to Saturday, we'll leave one of the fixtures out. We'll chat to our guest about that in a bit. But the big one for me, the big shocker was Jersey Cov, and Cov turning Jersey over. And I predicted the Jersey win, Cov flying in and out in a day. And the young centre, but got 4 tries, which is amazing. So fair play to Cov, hell of a win for them. It's really, really good for Cov. And then Pirates, the only one I got right on the Saturday was Pirates putting a big score on Hartbury. So Pirates again, they had their little wobble, didn't they, mid-season, and now they're right in form. The young lad Roberts has come down on loan from one of the Welsh regions. Has really seemed to have settled in well and get rave reviews about him. So fair play to the lads at Pirates. Good luck to Dan Frost at Pirates at Hookers, moved on to Wasps, which is great for him, alongside Bomber at Donny. So good news for the boys that are in the league that it's still possible to jump up, as we were speaking about last week. Then we've got tonight's fixture, which a few people are saying pray for the mob, but let's see how they go. It's a great story. We love the Amtel story on here, me especially. We've had Lavery on here, and he'll be like a Cheshire cat tonight, like loving life, just being down at Sarries. So, and then obviously we can talk to our guest today about the Richmond Nottingham game, which was one of the results I got wrong. So I'll let you introduce him, Mike, as tradition. It's I've rambled for a bit there, but crack on with introducing our guest.
Of course, so formerly of Coventry, currently of Richmond, Max Trimble, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Max, weekend's result, we Gully and I, obviously, as he alluded to there, kind of fancying Richmond in what looked to be a bit of a tough afternoon for your guys down at the Athletic Ground. Nottingham winning that one 34-17. Just talk us through Saturday's game, mate.
Yeah, it was a tough one to take, to be honest. Obviously, both of us towards the bottom of the table, and it was one that we kind of did eye up for another win. But credit to Nottingham, and to be fair, as I've always, this is my third year in the champ now. Every time you play Nottingham, it's such a tough game because they're so well drilled, and I think it's testament to the guys they have there, the culture and the coaches as well. They just play some pretty good rugby, and I think it allows anybody that comes in there to kind of fit into that mold pretty well. And they are always tough to play against, and we didn't really match up to them. I think our discipline did let us down as well. We had a couple of yellow cards, and I ended up playing 9 for about half an hour and realised how unfit I am. That was a test. So yeah,
testing your left-hand spin pass, mate, from 9. What are you doing there? You dive passing?
There wasn't many revs on the spin pass. I'll say that much. It was kind of wobbling all over the shop, but no, I enjoyed it, to be fair. But yeah, credits anyway. Just played around. Christ, it was tough after about 5 minutes. I think the ref was actually talking me through it at scrum time as well, which probably don't even know if that's allowed. But yeah, it's a tough one to take, to be honest. I thought we could have come away with something there, but we'll look it over and kind of regroup and go again next week.
Mate, I love that you're upskilling at mid-20s playing scrum half. That's it's just go on.
Slowly move in as my athleticism dies off.
Love that. Mate, just a quick one, just touching on Nottingham. Obviously, you're from up that way, aren't you?
Yeah.
You still have good connections with guys that play there, or is it just sort of more watch from the outside? And the coaches there. Obviously, Falks is moving to Wasp, so
I mean, I never really knew that many there. I mean, I knew the Cobdens. Obviously, they're kind of big within the Nottingham kind of circle, and that's because of 3 friends who had like played there during that time and before. But apart from that, it was Ryan Huff. You played with Ryan, didn't you, as well? Did you play with Ryan at Carbon? Yeah, a couple of those boys. But yeah, as far as the connections go, I didn't really have anything. I used to go and watch them a couple of times when they were at Lady Bay, kind of back in the day. But that's about it. So, I mean, I played for a club that was like my first senior club called Moderns back there. They were kind of still around that West Bridgeford area. That was like my first senior team. So, I actually had nothing to do with Nottingham until obviously I just started playing them. And once we got promoted into the champ.
Yeah. West Bridgeford's a good night out as well, isn't it, by all accounts?
Bad, yeah. It's not bad. It's probably where I'd live if I went back there.
Just an interesting one, Max. Obviously, you mentioned that discipline was a little bit of your undoing at the weekend. I know, obviously, the sort of discipline in the game at the moment is quite a hot topic. We're seeing in the Prem every week, sort of higher numbers of cards dished out week in, week out. I remember the game against Richmond were on the wrong end of quite a few yellow cards. You scored a fantastic try that game, but I think it was really the yellow cards that you're undoing. Do you think it's sort of a club issue adapting to new rules, or what?
Potentially, I think as well. We tend to find ourselves on the wrong end of the scoreline to start the games, and you end up chasing it and you end up forcing things. And I think that could be a contributing factor. I think we've had a few where guys are coming in the side of the maul and stuff like that. So, and again, I can't remember what they're all for, but I think that probably doesn't help us. I think we can probably try and get into the habit of starting a bit stronger, and then you don't have to chase the game. You can manage it a bit better. But look, you can blame the ref and all that stuff. And I think the Doncaster one had some possible. The ref was slightly off. You say that. I mean, there was somewhere. If I look around now, but you are
name and shame him.
Yeah, I don't even know. But I think if we can get that under control, because there's been quite a lot of yellows for us in the past few weeks. So if we can get that under control, we can give ourselves a better chance of coming away with some results.
Right, just as we're talking about Richmond, and when we first started the pod, it was we're trying to represent the league as a whole, and Richmond is sort of one that everyone thinks they know, but I don't actually know, and I just wondered sort of from obviously moving from Cov and into the environment, how it all came about firstly, and then your comparison between what you've experienced at Cov going part time to moving back to the part time environment, mate.
So, firstly, how it came about. So it was about sort of January, February last year. And I kind of sat down with Roland Diawar, and he said that there was a contract there for me, and I kind of there's nothing to do with like the club or the people that I like. I love the club. It is such a good rugby club, and the people around it. The likes of your dad, Ron, even Brian. Sorry, these are kind of household names in COD, but. And I just kind of sat down. I'd been there for 4 years, and like as much as I love a club, like the city is a bit. There's not that much going on, and I was kind of like mid to late 20s then, and I was a lot of my friends are down in London, and that's kind of where I wanted to go. And I kind of had my degree and knew that I'd eventually be going out of that kind of full time and into the kind of working side, and I wanted to be down in London. So I just kind of sat with Roland and explained that all to him, and he understood straight away. And I'd had like a little bit of interest from higher up, like a London club, and then I kind of decided that I wanted to get out to London. So I picked up the phone and called Steve Hill, the DOR from Richmond. So I was talking to him from really early on, like pre-pandemic and all that. And then, kind of very weird 3 weeks. So after I told Roland I didn't, I wanted to kind of move out of Coventry, I think it was like a week or two later, I tore my knee again. So I did like my PCL and my MCL. And then a week or two after that, the pandemic hit. So I was kind of like, wow, it's been a tough old 3-4 weeks. But it worked out. And from that stage, it was just about trying to sort a job. So I went through a company called Future Proof, who Richmond kind of in a roundabout way put me in touch with, who are like a recruitment company that have kind of been helping like full-time kind of athletes kind of transition out and working to go into to roles. And I was with them for quite a few months. And obviously when they first started the process, it was like right at the start of the pandemic. So that was just like carnage. There was nothing going on. It was a bit weird. So I like finished out my sort of renting lease in Cov with Ptolemy. And that was an interesting few months. But did that, and then eventually managed to sort a job, and then kind of came down here in January, obviously, because up until then, obviously nobody knew what the hell was going on with rugby, with work, with lockdowns and everything. So it was a very weird year, as I'm sure it was for everyone. But in terms of the difference, it's from full-time to part-time. I'd done it before because I was at Cov when it was still part-time, so it wasn't that much of a shock for me, because I'd worked full-time when I first got to Cov. It wasn't too bad for me, but it's a bit of a, not a shock, but you appreciate the things that full-time allows you to do, kind of do those extra bits, that kind of time off midweek, and actually putting a lot of time into the rugby and all the analysis and stuff like that, because that's just something that we don't really have the time for. And we do bits and definitely make the most of the time that we have at Richmond. But there is obviously that gap in kind of time to be able to do that stuff.
You mentioned there how the club put you in touch with a recruitment firm and sort of helped you out in the first step sort of towards employment on moving to the capital. Is that sort of a typical thing that Richmond do for players coming down? Is that something that is quite often seen with players that move to the area?
Yeah, because I knew quite a lot of lads that had played for Richmond and gone to Richmond, and nobody had a bad word to say about it. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. The combination of the fact that you knew a lot of lads who'd been there, I did know players here already, and the fact that they all spoke so highly of it. So it was a no-brainer for me. And when I spoke to Steve, he kind of got on the ball straight away, really. And I think the process would have been a lot quicker if we weren't in the middle of the pandemic. But you know what, it absolutely worked out. I don't want to call upon fate or anything like that, but I'm in a job now which I didn't think I could probably get, and it's probably above my maybe CV grade, I guess you'd say. But I'm really enjoying it, and it couldn't have worked out better, to be honest.
I think that's sort of like the misconception is you go to Richmond, you get a job. But you've been put in contact with a company that sees your talents. You've still got to go and get that job, haven't you? You've still got to work your tits off and impress at interview and do all that side of it. That's on you. The intros through the club, which is really interesting. Because if you go back 20 odd years when guys were getting jobs because they were rugby players, it was just because they were rugby players. But now you've got to go and impress from day one, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're all really good with that. They've got a great sort of contact base because of the nature of the club. It's so integrated in the area, and they've got a really strong kind of like a old boys section. And to be fair, I've been completely shut off from it, because since I've been down, it's been like the champ squad's been like a bubble. So that's been a shame, because obviously that's one side of it that is one of the best parts of the club, I think, and we haven't really been able to integrate so far. But they've been really great and did that. But as you say, this is, I have probably 5 interview stages for this job now. So that's you don't just automatically get the job, especially in pandemic.
Congratulations, mate. That's amazing. Like, you got to be proud. That's something to be really proud of, mate, because it's we joke about it, but it's that's not easy coming out of a full-time environment, going through that sort of process, probably having never been in a process like that. It's
to be fair, like the last kind of, like I said, when I was part-time at Coventry, that first time I worked, that interview stage was like, it was just one, and it was nothing like the store. So this was tough. But I think the reason why it was so good for me now is because of, I mean, if you can imagine from like me doing my knee in the pandemic to literally probably February. So that's what is that, 11, sort of 10, 11 months, whatever. You didn't have a clue what I was going to do. It's just because, you know, and you almost think, gosh, should I have taken that contract with Carl and stuff like that? But you can't really think like that, because you've done it for a reason. And but yeah, it was fairly worrying times at points, and you kind of, obviously, you know, you hit your lows, and you've got, I think it was second or third lockdown, that one in October, November. I was like, when is this going to end? Like, someone give me a job, something like that. But, you know, I knew I had the CV, and luckily I'd got a degree and stuff like that, and work experience, and then done all that. So, I mean, I wasn't too worried, to be honest. It was just more of a case of when, not if. But yeah, it was good. It worked out in the end.
We spoke a little bit last week about sort of Mental Health Awareness Week, and
yeah,
I don't want to go, like, I don't know how comfortable you are with it, but, you know, in those low times and those challenges, like, so
yeah,
what sort of your process around that?
Yeah, for me it was 100%. I figured out that it was training. It was the only thing. Like, luckily I had access to a gym, whether legally or not. I had access to a gym, and it just gave me structure. So I basically just in my head said that I'll just try and do my own pre-season, just make a pre-season out of it. So I'd do, and to be fair, it was pretty hard. Like, I did that, and I joined an athletics club that was outside, and I was getting pumped by GB under 18 200 meter sprinters every Tuesday and Thursday, thinking, Christ, I'm losing every corner here. But yeah, it was just that. It was just creating some kind of structure, because you'd wake up and you'd be like, what now? So I'd wake up and put an episode of The Last Dance on, watch that like about 3 times. What series? But yeah, it was that. It was one of the only things that kind of kept me sane, because it was, at that point, it was the only thing that I could, like, quantifiably see improvements. That makes sense. Or, you know, I could, like, bit nausy, but you could see your weight training going up. And for me, because as well with my knee, I hadn't been able to, like, train properly. So when the first pandemic hit, I was literally just getting fat and fatter, and living with Tommy, who was just feeding me. And he had this recipe book, and he just was doing a different recipe every day. I didn't cook for, like, the first lockdown. He was just feeding me. And obviously he was drinking a fair bit as well. And I couldn't even, I think at the time when the pandemic hit, I couldn't even cycle. So my knee was, like, at that stage. Obviously I had no training equipment or anything. So just wake up, boxers on, eat and drink. That's it. So yeah, I think that for me, that was the biggest thing.
When did training start for Richmond in earnest for this championship season then, Max?
I don't actually know, because I know they were doing it for a while. I think they actually did start in, like, August time, but obviously I didn't move down to London until January. So they had like a 33 to 35 week pre-season or something like that, which, when you think about it, it's just, do you know what I mean? What we used to, like, sort of 12-week maximum. Yeah. Just unbelievable. And, like, fair credit to all the lads that actually did that and stuck with it. And there was even some guys that, you know, didn't, because of how it worked out, you obviously have to cut the squad down to, like, the champ squad when it comes into this. So there was some lads that didn't even get to play. So, like, you know, you got to say fair play to them who stuck with it, because it's not easy. I mean, this season has been an effort, and we all do it because we want to play the game stuff. But yeah, credit to everyone that has done it and who's been involved in letting it happen.
So obviously in the league this year, and we like sort of shining a light on the story of each club, and you are our first Richmond guest, which is fantastic. We have obviously part-time and full-time teams now. My understanding is that at Richmond you've got players, basically you have a match fee, and then everyone's on a pretty similar pegging, and you train sort of a couple of nights a week, and it is as transparent as that. Is that the reality of the situation, Max?
Yeah. I mean, it's changed slightly for this season. I think it's slightly lower this season because of, obviously, I know, you know, the clubs had to fork out some money to play this season, which, you know, is great from them to be able to do that. And I think everyone's very appreciative that they have done that. But yeah, that's the normal standing. Again, I'm not too sure what it's been in previous years. I've, you know, retained stuff like that. But yeah, that's how it's worked this year, which is kind of good, because there's no real discrepancies in everyone kind of knows you're on that kind of level playing field, I guess.
So when you meet with Steve Hill and the other coaches, the selling point,
Yeah.
is it really that sort of will help you with that transition into the working world? We've got the network with jobs that you alluded to just earlier.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Steve's very clear and he's great about it. He says, this is the club and we're not about chucking the money at people. It's not really about that. It is, I understand why clubs do that. And obviously I've been a part of a club that has done that. But this is also another great part of rugby, this kind of side of it and how Richmond operate.
Mate, how does the training week look in terms of scheduling and, what's the sort of support staff look like in comparison to what you've previously known?
So Tuesdays and Thursdays are the training days, and then obviously Saturdays if there's no game, and if you're not playing, you do like a weight and a training session on Saturday. Tuesdays is probably I get there about 6 to kind of do a gym session before, finish about 9. So do like a weight, then we'll do like a little bit of analysis, and then you're into the training session. With regards to sports staff, so there's a couple of physios. We've just started getting some kind of soft tissue, which is great. I've my body's pretty screwed, so I kind of appreciate that, and I think a few of the other boys do as well, but some don't, so that's fair enough. But the S&C guys are really good as well. There's Tappers and Kimmy. I think Tappers, obviously, I think quite a lot of lads know him, have worked with him as well. He's been great for me because obviously being a winger and stuff and I probably take that side of it, what he does, the kind of sprint mechanics and stuff like that a bit more, not seriously, but obviously it's more appropriate to me, I guess, than other people. So I quite like that, and they're really good. They're so knowledgeable about it, and really keen to help out with everyone. So it's great, it's fine, and it works. I think obviously with regards to Cov, we had so many, I think when I did my knee at the start, I had physio on me all the time and doing that one-to-one kind of treatment all the time. And yeah, it's completely different than just the amount of staff, the resources that they have as well to call upon the Cov. Everything's obviously dedicated towards that rugby side of it. And the analysis, like the analysis room at Coventry, obviously we just kind of get in the bar and we've got it up on the screen in Richmond and go through it that way. But yeah, it's great. I mean, it still works, and I guess it is what you make out of it, isn't it? I guess that's how you got to look at it. So
I'm going to put you on the spot now, mate, because I've done what you've done. For me personally, I don't know if it's an age thing or what it is. Some of my most enjoyable rugby and times were when I was at Amptill, when I was very much a part-time rugby player. Full-time gig. And then I had some great times in full-time environments. I'd find myself sapping a bit in a full-time environment more than I would in a part-time, because I think I appreciated it more. So at the moment, like which way do you prefer it, mate? Like genuinely at this level?
It's do you know what, it's difficult for me because I think, which we said we were going to touch on, I had such like an unorthodox way of coming into rugby. Like I had my first proper senior game of national rugby when I was like 25. I mean, that's probably the latest that I've heard of, which is a bit of a joke, isn't it? So like I had 2 years in that one, 2 years in champ, and that was it. Now I'm just like back to kind of like part-time. So it's been so weird for me. I think I wish I'd kind of got into this environment a lot sooner. Like I did it at uni and stuff, and then messed around there and didn't take it that seriously, and then went to Abu Dhabi and played for a year out there. But there is part of me that wishes I'd got into this game like quite early and kind of maybe believed in your own talent. I don't want to throw that word out there, but if you know what I mean, like kind of ability earlier on, and had the kind of balls to go for it really at a younger age. Then I'd probably be able to give you a better comparison. I did love the full-time environment because I think I benefited from it a lot. I learned quite a lot, and I definitely saw myself change as a player in that time. Like obviously with the help of the lads at Cov, like Walshy and all those coaches who were great with me.
I think I was just trying to get it off my chest, really, mate. I wish that. Sometimes I wish that I'd done it the other way around. So it had taught me a little bit more about appreciate like the full-time environment a little bit more than I probably did at the time. I just did it, and it was pretty comfortable and quite easy for a period of my career.
I think do you know what, when you've got the part-time teams as well, there's a lot more of I think the mindset is more towards like the lads want to be there. And that's not saying that in a full-time environment they don't want to be there, but there's an element they have to be there. Whereas here, like the social side is obviously very good at Richmond. I mean, and this is like no disrespect to Cov, I think I've had more socials in a pandemic at Richmond than I have in a full season at Cov last year.
I was going to ask how it's worked this year, because obviously traditionally Richmond's social, as you say, it's well known throughout the league and beyond. Obviously, big end of season tours of stuff, and it sounds. Have you still managed to keep an element of that despite the pandemic?
Well, yeah, I think they had to. Like, you know, did the best of what we could, obviously within the legal parameters, obviously, and it's we just. You have to, because it's such an important part of it, isn't it? And like when you've got new lads like me coming in, like it's just the best way to kind of meet one. They are really good with it, and I think, like obviously for all the pluses and all the pros that Cov has over, like I don't want to say Cov, but like those full teams have over, like I've noticed that this is something that they probably lacked, and that's probably they could have organised more stuff like in the time I was there. But like we had lads coming from all over and from like different stages, like, you know, they got kids and stuff. So it is hard to kind of do that stuff. When we're at Cov, like the amount of lads we had coming from Northampton and like Buzz and those guys coming from up north. So it's hard to do, but I think it is an important part of it that should be taken a bit more seriously.
What I think I really like about what you're saying and about Richmond is they seem to know their own skin, mate. They've got they've got identity and they stick to it, and we are Richmond, and it seems that it's really helped you, but it also seems like a great like sort of advert for the club of what
without a doubt. And I think it's not even like that's not even like a promoted thing. I think it's like word of mouth. Everyone knows that Richmond's a good club and all the guys there are really good blokes. I think it speaks for itself how well they do in terms of that side of things. I'm really happy that I've made the move. I think it was a really good move for me.
We've kind of said between ourselves, haven't we, Gully, in our little championship podcast WhatsApp group, that if we hadn't a favourite away trip in the league, it is the Athletic Ground, because there's always that sort of like decent atmosphere after the game and around, despite whether it's a Friday night or a weekend game, there's people on the beers, and then off into Richmond afterwards. It is, it's got still retains, sometimes can feel a bit tripod what to say, but it does retain that traditional rugby club values. Everyone seems to stay and have drinks afterwards, whilst obviously time and time again prove themselves to be a very, very professional side in terms of the product produced on the field.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, put it this way. So obviously we played Nottingham on Saturday. I think it was one of I don't personally know. Is it Josh Brulé? I think. Have I said that right? Yeah. I know a lot of the lads know him and I've played with him before, but I think it was his 100th cap. So, you know, Timmy, one of our players, got him like I think it was like a 2-pint boot, like a Das boot thing to do after a game. And I was like, this is the first time I'd seen it in ages. Like, I think that's, you know, I saw it at uni and stuff, and even the Loughborough lads actually did it for us when I played them against Cov. I think that's just such an important thing that should still be done at clubs, where it's like, you know, someone just like, I have the food straight on the bus going. It's like a business interaction as opposed to like playing a game of rugby and keeping those things alive. So yeah, there is that. But also, like I was, in terms of like the like production on the pitch and stuff like that, I think I was pleasantly surprised kind of when I came, how not saying I'm like a different level or anything like that, but like when we played Ealing at home, like the pre-season game, how much like the lads sort of like fronted up and really got stuck in. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, and to be honest, I didn't think about it. But that was like so refreshing to know that like the mentality is 100% there from all the boys when it comes to actually game day and wanting to play and wanting to win.
It's quite interesting as well, because I think in terms of like competition for sides in the space in which Richmond compete, you know, you've got a lot of other very strong National League clubs looking like, you know, your Blackheaths, your Eltemians, and a little bit further up the road, Chinner. But again, Richmond have certainly over the last sort of 3 or 4 years proved them, probably alongside Ampthill now, to be the best part-time club in the country. What do you attribute that to? Are you going to chance here to give your gaffer Steve Hill a bit of a tyre pump?
I think, you know what? I think his recruitment's obviously pretty good. There's some seriously talented players at Richmond, but they've also got pretty like good jobs, I think. So it's like there's some boys that are kind of like fresh out of uni and working in the city, and they are pretty slick players. I could definitely like, you know, see them playing at a high level, but it's to them whether they want to do that. So I think the talent pool is there. You know, you're in London, no club's going to be short of players, are they, in London, really? And with the reputation that Richmond's had, I think, it's just, I'd come down because of word of mouth and because of people I knew. So I presume that's just going to keep on happening. We've got some great coaches there as well, who know what they're talking about. I know obviously we've got like Rousey and Kenshi, who you guys, do you know him, Gully? I think.
No, right. Both of them, yeah, good blokes, mate.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, they're attracting good coaches as well. And everyone, like I say, everyone's bought in because they want to be there. But again, it's the reason why they don't finish like mid or top table is because the full-time teams and the other teams have probably better players and maybe better coaching or anything like that, because it's the full-time rugby. It's what the money buys you, doesn't it? So it's I don't know. I'd like to be able to contribute to help us get to that stage and push on up the league. It'd be good if we could do that. Whether we can or not, obviously we'll see next year. I think things are different now with no relegation, obviously, rotating the squad and stuff like that, which makes complete sense. I guess we'll see where we stand sort of next year.
Yeah, it's a really strange situation, isn't it? It's like the league's just got started. We finish next week, isn't it?
Very weird.
Pretty much week after next.
Yeah.
So a lot of what the future is sort of planning for next season, isn't it? Really, and just making sure the squad rotation. And I suppose for you personally, well, it's sort of what for next season. What sort of the goals for you is just cement yourself in the team, potentially at 9 or at wing. Looking forward to that.
I'll have to do a bit of marathon training before I think about 9. Christ.
Mate, just a quick one on that. So you spoke about like training and like that helping out through lockdown. Well, we spoke to Ali Price a few weeks back, and he had a similar struggle, and he got on the Strava, mate, and now he smashed the fitness in. He had his best Six Nations in the Lions team, mate. So there's hope. There's hope.
There is hope. If I can just find that discipline from somewhere.
Have there been conversations for next year then, Max, both in terms of where you are personally and Richmond, for a league that will, you would assume, be open again to promotion and relegation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm keen to stay. I don't really know how it's going. I think Steve's asked us that everyone's kind of speaking to them about their interest in staying and stuff. And as with regards to next year, how we'll do it, I don't think we've really spoke about it this year, because obviously I think the focus still is on this year. Like, I know that they're relegation, but still you've got to kind of prepare like this is a normal league. But yeah, I think personal goal for me, I'd like to try and see us push up the league. I mean, I don't know what their kind of best finish has been in the last few years, that they've kind of bounced up and down, but I think we've got the talent to be like a, we could definitely push up the league. The players, the ability, and there is the infrastructure there at Richmond for us to be like a mid-table team, I think, and really pushing those top teams. I mean, again, like, I thought we did really well against Pirates, and like the first 10-20 minutes against Sarries, we were actually all right. I think we were like 3-0 down first like 10-20 minutes, and you felt like you could actually do some damage against them, and that doesn't come out of nowhere. That's not luck. So yeah, I think if we can start to take advantage of everything here that we've got, then it should be all right.
I'd say I've got a note down here. So would you'd have played against Alex Lewington in the Sarries game? I believe you two guys knew each other from back in the day.
Yeah, he's my mate from school. So that was good. We haven't played with or against each other since school. So since we were like 17, I think. So shame, because we obviously wanted our parents to be there, and they were all watching, I think, together at home, and took some socially distanced photos after the game, which is about as good as it got. But what an amazing experience, because I support Sarries because he plays for them, and I support London Irish because obviously Stokes plays for them. So it's not even going far to say that they're your idols, aren't they? When I wasn't really that big into rugby, to be honest, until I got to school, and it was. The school like forced me into playing pretty much. I was playing football, and they were like, "Do you want to play for the A team on Saturday?" I was like, "Absolutely not." And then they were like, "You have to." So I was like, "Right, okay." But yeah, it was those boys, kind of sparked my passion for it, and watching Alex do amazingly through, when he was at Tigers, then Irish, and now Saracens. It's like so so good what those boys are doing. So proud of them. So yeah, they've been my idols, I guess, playing, and seeing them play and then get to play against them was amazing, even though we'd lost.
Does just obviously seeing how well those guys that you went to school with, and obviously you mentioned how much progress you think you made in a full-time environment, is that part of the reason that perhaps you wish you'd gone to it a little bit earlier?
Yeah, definitely, without doubt. I think trying to think back, so obviously Alex got went into it from like sort of 15, 16 into like the Tigers Academy, and then Stokes started playing for Nottingham after school, I think. And I just went straight to uni and just did the whole so it was which again, like I met all my friends at uni, and to be fair, I was at a university where the rugby was really good. I was at Leeds Beckett now, and I struggled a lot with injury because I wasn't really the S&C and the care there, and my body was still like kind of developing to try and play a higher level than it was ready for, and so every time I got injured, it was just like, right, well, here we go. May as well take advantage of being at uni and going out, all the time. But yeah, definitely do wish that I just didn't think there was a path for me back then, to be honest. I was like pretty skinny. I was probably like 60, 70 kgs wet through at that point, and not really doing anything with it. So it wasn't really until I got into my like sort of third and fourth years of uni where I had like proper S&C and started to become a bit more of an athlete and use it and a bit more knowledgeable around the game. Then I went to Abu Dhabi and then did a year there, and then came back and started at Cov. So by that time, it was like, 24, 25. So, you've probably lost like 5 years of that you could be playing at that top level.
And I suppose one of the things that we've kind of shown light on that's okay, fair enough. You've gone on to carve a fantastic career out in the league, but without the championship, players that didn't start playing out of school wouldn't have had the opportunity to play professionally at all.
No, not at all. I think Alex did a loan spell, I think, or was it a loan spell? I think he did a loan spell at Nottingham and did like amazingly well in the champ, and that's when he, went on to push on into the Premiership. I obviously, who knows what I would have done if the champ wasn't there. I think the only reason that I actually signed on with Coventry when we went to the champ full time was because it was like a step up. Otherwise, I was just going to come down to London or, go somewhere else, because I was like, I didn't want to like just stay at the same kind of level and do nothing really. So yeah, it's such an important league. Like, it's the most fantastic league of misfits and reprobates and different kind of blokes who are all like talented players, and some want to push on and some are at different stages. But I think without it, it's rugby. Just I've not met anybody who's got really like like you said, Gully, we're all saps about it, but it's such a good league to be a part of.
I think that's a fantastic note to end on. Max, you've been a fantastic guest. Wish you the best for the rest of the season, and really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
That was the Championship Club podcast with Michael Casey and Ben Gulliver. Check us out on social media at Champ Clubs Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe and like our YouTube channel.